Issei is a perverted, useless joke of a protagonist who likes looking at naked girls, but one day, he suddenly gets killed by his girlfriend and is brought back to the world as a devil. Now, he must become stronger and stronger while making sure that he builds a harem of the hot girls in his club. Hyoto Issei wearily asks his friends Matsuda and Madohama why they enrolled in this school again, remarking that Kyo Private Academy here has just barely turned co-ed, so the girls are the majority here and boys are scarce. In other words, it should be a harem, but they still haven't gotten any girlfriends. A group of girls ask a handsome-looking guy named Kiba if he's free now, but he smilingly apologizes since he's busy right now. Issei angrily whines that just because he's a little handsome, very smart, and has a pretty good personality, he has girls waiting in line. As they're peeping at the girls' changing room, someone suddenly spots them from inside. Matsuda and Madohama quickly get away, but Issei is left cornered by the girls and gets beat up by the girls. Later, Issei suddenly spots a red-haired girl above them in the old schoolhouse. Issei is awestruck by how beautiful she is, so Matsuda says she's Ria's Gremory, the occult research club president. In the clubroom, Rias thinks about Issei and slowly goes to take a bath. As he's walking home, Issei wearily wonders if his school life is going to end without bearing fruit before a girl approaches him like a knight in silver armor, only this time, the woman isn't the one who needs saving. Issei doesn't recognize her uniform but sees that she's really cute before the girl blushingly asks if he's seeing anyone right now. In that case, she asks if he'll be her boyfriend, shocking him. Later, Issei introduces the girl, Amano Yuma, to his friends and tells them to hurry up and get a girlfriend too, remembering how Yuma asked him to go on a date with her on Sunday. Rias sees that she was right to keep an eye on Issei and decides to make preparations. On Sunday, Issei mutters that it should be time before a girl hands him a card, stating that his wish will be granted, and walks away. Yuma arrives and they spend the day with each other. Later, as they're eating, Yuma asks if something's wrong, but he hurriedly says it's nothing and starts choking. As they're walking back, Issei remarks that this is the moment of truth for him and takes Yuma's hand before she asks if he would mind doing something for her to commemorate their first date. Issei excitedly asks what it is, so she menacingly questions if he'll die for her. Surprised, Issei says he must have heard wrong, but she repeats herself and suddenly transforms into different clothes before summoning a blade. Issei tries to stop her, but she declares that it's time to die and suddenly stabs him, muttering that she had to dispose of him right away since he was too great of a risk factor for them, so if he must blame someone, he should blame God for having that sacred gear dwell within him. As blood starts pooling beneath his body, Issei slowly wonders if he's really dying in some 2-bit park after Yuma suddenly disappears. He remembers that Ria's hair is just as red as his blood and admits he's lived a really shallow life. A magic circle suddenly appears in front of Issei and Rias asks if he was the one who summoned her before declaring that she will take him, and since he's dying anyway. Issei wakes up in his room and mutters that he just had a really strange dream. Later, he asks his friends if they're sure they don't remember Yuma, but they say he never introduced someone named that to them and he can't possibly have a friend. Stunned, Issei sees that Yuma's phone number and email address are gone from his phone before Rias slowly walks by them and smiles at Issei. They admire her beauty before Matsuda invites them over to his house to watch his treasured collection. Later, as Issei is sitting in Matsuda's house, he wonders how it's possible for several days worth of memories to just be a dream. The other decide to turn the lights off, but Issei says he can still see light and decides to head home, so they ask if he's feeling alright. As he's walking home, he realizes he can see even clearer than during the day and feels like he's brimming with power. He wonders why his body is acting so weirdly since he can even hear noises from really far away and runs inside a park. He realizes this is the place where his date with Yuma ended before a menacing-looking man suddenly appears behind him. Paralyzed by fear, Issei desperately runs away before the man suddenly grows wings and lands in front of him. The man sees that Issei's master and friends are nowhere to be seen, so he must be a stray, which means there shouldn't be any problem in taking him out. He suddenly impales through Issei with a sword and admits he's surprisingly tough since that didn't finish him off. He gets ready to finish him off, but Rias suddenly knocks away his sword and tells him to keep his hands off of Issei. 2 more girls arrive and deflect the man's attacks as he sees that she's from the house of Gremory. Rias declares that she won't have any mercy on him if he brings any harm to Issei, so he suggests that she shouldn't let people of her house walk around like that since hunters like him might try to attack them. The man introduces himself as Donaseek and suddenly disappears, after which Rias declares that she won't let Issei die like that. He's going to have to pay the medical bills first. Later, Issei wakes up in his room to see that he's naked again and mutters that he had that weird dream again, but he shockingly sees Rias lying next to him and hurriedly falls down. He insists that this can't be real, but she says everything he's experienced so far is real because she is Ria's Gremory, a devil and his master. Issei's sister walks up the stairs to tell him to wake up, but he hurriedly tells her to not come inside since he's up now and tries to cover Rias with a sheet, but his sister sees them both and hurriedly informs her parents. Rias asks if he's feeling alright at the place where he was stabbed and admits he's stronger than she expected since his wound healed overnight, before revealing that she embraced him all night to share her magic with him. The students at school are shocked to see the #1 idol, Rias, walking with a loser like Issei, but she says she'll see him after school and walks off. Natsuda punches Issei in the face and he and Madohama ask what the hell happened, so he starts bragging about it. Upstairs, Rias runs into Sona and cheerily says Issei is like a dumb, younger brother to her. Later, Kiba approaches Issei and asks if he would mind coming with him since he's on an errand for Rias. In the occult research clubroom, Issei smilingly sees the popular first year, Tojo Kaneko, and declares that this is a fantastic club room when he notices a shower as well. The vice president, Hajime Akino, introduces herself before Rias steps out of the shower too, and they welcome him into the club. Rias reveals that the occult research club is actually just a front since they're all devils and the man who attacked him yesterday was a fallen angel. She explains that these are angels in service of God who, as a result of possessing corrupt emotions, have descended into the underworld. They are attempting to wipe the devils out while they manipulate humans and continue to fight for supremacy of the underworld. Hell, she adds that there are other angels as well, so it's basically a three-way standoff. Issei admits this is a bit difficult for an average high school student, so she reminds him about Yuma and declares that she really did exist, contrary to what he'd started thinking. Rias reveals that Yuma used her powers to change his memories, just like how she told Issei's parents that being with a girl in one's room is normal these days. She explains that since Yuma had obtained her objective of killing him since she thought he had sacred gear, a non-standard power that dwells within specific people. Occasionally, there are even those who become a threat to devils and fallen angels, and tells him to focus on something while holding his left hand up. Issei isn't able to do anything since he's distracted by Rias, so she reveals that before he died, he summoned her through the flyer he got from an unknown girl. My guy is too freaky for even devils. She declares that now, he has been reborn as a member of the House of Rias Gremory, daughter of the Marquis of Gremory, a high-ranking devil as her devil servant. Issei is shocked to see that he and the others are able to sprout wings. As he's on his bike, he recalls how Rias explained that devils grant humans power for a price agreed upon via a pact. Nowadays, people do not use summons by drawing magic circles anymore, so they deliver these flyers to be summoned. She tells him to do a good job at learning and he may have his devil servants as well, so Issei happily asked if he can do whatever he wants with them. Rias tells Issei that Kaneko has received 2 summon requests so he can take one of them. She forms a magic circle and stamps Issei's hand with the seal of the House of Gremory. Issei excitedly entered the circle but nothing happens and Rias realizes he can't make the jump, so he's forced to travel to the location on his bike. Issei knocks on the man, Morisawa's door, but he tells him to leave since he summoned Kaneko, who teleports herself here. Issei tearfully says he would have done that too if he could. Inside, Morisawa asks Issei to show him what his special techniques are and reveals that he and Kaneko cosplay and play with each other. Issei imitates a special move from his favorite anime, Dragso Ball, and admits he doesn't have any special techniques right now before he and Morisawa start arguing about which one of them is a bigger fan, so Morisawa sets down his collection of comics and they menacingly decide to regale like a pair of nerds who desperately need to touch some grass. Later, as he's heading home, Issei mutters that he just got into a heated Dragso Ball discussion and suddenly senses a fallen angel near him. A woman, Kara Warner, declares that she was ordered to eliminate any traces of him and says he was supposed to have been killed by her, but she suddenly notices that he has the Gremory family seal on his hand. She declares that this is all the more reason to kill him, and Issei suddenly remembers what Rias said as well as his discussion with Morisawa. He unexpectedly grows a gauntlet over his seal, seeing which Kara Warner hurriedly decides to head back and report this instead. Back in the club room, Rias says he can activate and deactivate his sacred gear at will before warning him to not get carried away and fight fallen angels by himself. When he leaves, Rias mutters that she's not going to allow the fallen angels to take her precious servant from her. The next morning, Issei wonders as Rias is still annoyed by him and runs into a girl. Issei helps the girl up and remarks that she's his ideal type of girl. She reveals that she's lost her way and doesn't know what to do. As they're walking, she reveals that she's been assigned to the church of this town. Issei sees that she's a sister and she happily says she's glad she ran into someone this kind, so it must be the Lord's guidance. The Lord should have given her a GPS tracker too. Issei suddenly gets a weird feeling before the girl notices that a kid has fallen over and heals his knee, surprising Issei, who gets a strong twinge from his seal. As they continue walking, the girl says he must be surprised, so he cheerily says she really has an amazing power. She smilingly reveals that it's a wonderful power she received from God, but sadly looks away. They see the church in front of them and Issei suddenly gets a terrifying feeling. The girl says she would love to thank him and asks if he would mind coming up with her, but he hurriedly says there's something he needs to do, so she tells him her name, Asia Argento. She tells him to come meet her at the church anytime he wants, so he agrees and walks off, remarking that she really is a good girl. Later, Rias tells Issei that he must never go to the church again since that is enemy ground for devils like them, and just setting foot in there would create trouble for both gods and the devil's side. She says the chill he felt when he saw the church was because his devil instinct sensed danger, and that some of the exorcists or devil purgers affiliated with the church are users of sacred gear. She reminds him that a devil that is purged is totally annihilated and asks if he understands how serious that is. She apologizes for getting so worked up and tells him to just be more careful from now on. Later, Issei remarks that it seems like he's always getting Rias made at him. He apologizes to Asia since it doesn't look like he'll be able to keep his promise before Akino and Rias suddenly arrive. Aquino informs them that they've received a message from the Archduke, stating that a stray devil has been spotted in the town and they've learnt that this devil is leading people into an abandoned house up ahead and eating them. As they enter the house, Riaz asks Issei if he knows chess and reveals that she, the master, is the king and she has her empress, the queen, her cavalier, the knight, her tank, her rook, her clergyman, the bishop, and her foot soldier, the pawn. Devils with titles of nobility grant the characteristics of those pieces to their servants. These are called evil pieces. Issei asks why she's telling him this, so she orders him to pay close attention to the demons fighting tonight. As they start fighting the devil, Visor, Riaz explains the members' chess pieces. When they take her down, Visor is sneakily about to attack Riaz, but Issei hurriedly punches her hand away with his sacred gear, surprising Riaz. Once they've defeated Visor, Riaz says they should head home now, so Issei asks what his chess piece and she reveals that he's her foot soldier, the lowest piece. Later, Issei takes on another mission on his own to become a high-ranking devil as quickly as possible and heads to a house. When no one answers the door, he slowly enters and gets a weird feeling. He recalls how Riaz told him to make sure to bring back a pack this time and to not disappoint her again, and declares that he's coming in. Inside, he shockingly sees a corpse before a man menacingly introduces himself as Fried Sells, a junior priest with a certain devil purging organization, and openly admits to killing the man, declaring that the victim was connected to devils. Recognizing Issei as a devil too, Fried immediately charges forward to attack him. Issei hurriedly dodges, but Fried shoots him in the leg and slashes him with his sword. Suddenly, Asia enters the room and reacts with shock upon seeing the corpse, so Fried reveals that she's his assistant and reminds her that disposing of hopeless people who have been bewitched by devils is their job. Asia is stunned to see Issei there, so he slowly reveals that he's a devil and explains that he planned to never see her again since he wasn't trying to deceive her. He was just really excited by how cute she was. Surprised, Fried reminds Asia that they don't mingle with devil scum like Issei and puts his blade at Issei's throat to finish the job. However, before he's able to do so, Asia suddenly shields Issei from him. She begs him to let Issei go since he's still a good person, but Fried easily pins her to a wall, declaring that it looks like she needs some disciplining. Seeing this, Issei tells him to let Asia go, so he rounds on him instead. Issei inwardly admits he's probably going to die here since he has no chance of winning, but he tells himself that he can't run away either. He rushes forward and punches Fried in the face, so Fried gets ready to see how many pieces he can chop Issei into and charges forward. However, before he can attack, the rest of the Occult Research Club arrives. Seeing them, Fried starts angrily kicking Asia since she didn't do her job of setting up the barrier. He slowly backs away, but Riaz says retrieving Issei comes first right now and orders Aquino to prepare to jump, and Kaneko throws a drawer at Fried. As the devils start disappearing in the magic circle, Issei hurriedly tells Riaz that they have to take the wounded Asia with them, but she reveals that this circle only allows members of her household to travel through it. He desperately struggles against Kaneko's grip to get Asia, but she smilingly says she'll see him somewhere. As Aquino is bandaging up Issei's wounds, she says this will take some time to heal and reveals that Asia was a stray exorcist, someone who's been expelled from the church and lowered themselves to become the servant of a fallen angel. Later, Issei mutters that he's far too weak since he's a pawn after all who couldn't even save a single girl. He decides to just train himself and become stronger, but he isn't able to do much. He tells himself to stop screwing around since Asia is stuck with the mad killer. However, Asia unexpectedly approaches him from behind. At a restaurant, Issei treats Asia to a burger and asks what she was doing in the park, so she hurriedly says she thought to take a walk around the town since she had some time off. In that case, Issei suggests that they have some fun and they spend the day together. Later, Issei notices Asia eyeing a stuffed toy named Raku and decides to get it for her on the crane game, so she happily thanks him, muttering that this rendezvous will be something special just for today. Outside, Asia tells him that this is the most fun she's ever had and notices that Issei is feeling pain due to his wound from earlier. Asia heals Issei's wound as he remarks that she really is cute. He's surprised by how it feels like there wasn't a wound at all. She reveals that she was abandoned by her parents soon after she was born. They left her in front of a church in a small rural town in Europe, and that's where she was raised. When she was 8, a puppy that had been injured was near death and wandered into the church. She prayed by herself as hard as she could, and a miracle happened after that. She was then immediately taken to a larger church and told to heal the illnesses of the church's believers who would visit from all over the world. She really was happy that her powers were helpful to other people, but one day, she encountered a man who looked hurt and collapsed. However, when she healed him, the people said that anyone who had the power to treat devils was a heretic. She mutters that if she overcomes the trial she is in right now, the Lord will someday fulfill her dream. She reveals that her dream is to hang out with friends since she doesn't really have any. However, Issei stands up and declares that he'll be her friend and they're going to have fun and chat together since they're already doing that. He asks if there's any problem with that, but she happily says there isn't and that she's glad. Suddenly, the girl who had pretended to be Yuma appears in front of them, and Asia reveals that her name is actually Rainier. Rainier menacingly tells Asia that there's no use in trying to run away, but she declares that she won't go back to a place where people are hurt. Issei asks what she wants, so she tells him to not speak to her so causally and declares that she will eliminate him entirely this time if he intends to get in her way. Issei summons his sacred gear, but Reiner laughingly sees that it's just a twice critical and reveals that his sacred gear is a common item which only has the power to temporarily double his powers. She starts mocking him for how he acted when she asked him to become her boyfriend, but Issei angrily tells her to shut up. Issei activates his sacred gear and starts powering up, but he suddenly gets stabbed by Reiner's spear of light. Asia heals Issei's wound, seeing which Reiner tells her to come back with her since her twilight healing is incomparably rarer than Issei's power. Reiner agrees to let Issei go if Asia agrees to go with her and throws a spear near Issei, blowing him back by the impact of the explosion. She warns Asia that Issei would have died if she didn't miss on purpose, so Asia depressingly agrees and bids Issei farewell before disappearing with Reiner. Issei slowly collapses onto the lake and questions why he's so weak. Later, Issei goes back to the occult research club to ask for help, and Riaz unexpectedly agrees. She explains that even though he's a pawn, he can temporarily get the powers of other chess pieces, except the king. Sometime later, Issei, along with Kiba and Kaneko, heads to the church where Asia is being kept while Riaz and Akino deal with Middle, who is guarding the place. As Issei and the others head in, Fried suddenly appears to stop them, so they start fighting him. Issei sees that Kiba is more than a pretty face as he fights Fried. Kiba suddenly covers his sword in a dark substance and reveals that this is Holy Eraser, a sword of darkness that devours light. Outside, Middle summons Kara Warner and Donasiku, who declare that they have a score to settle with Issei. As Fried repeatedly fires at Issei, he blocks all his attacks and charges forward, declaring that the Rook is a tank, its attribute is unbelievable defense and ridiculous attack power. He punches Fried in the face, knocking him away, and smilingly says that felt good after everything he's done to Asia. Fried declares that getting killed by devils is the last thing he'll do and suddenly escapes, so they decide to just press forward. As Kara Warner and Donasiku get ready to attack, Akino suddenly transforms into a traditional outfit, seeing which Middle annoyingly asks if she wants to have a cosplay competition here. However, Akino sets up magic circles around them and smilingly says this is a cage. Inside, Reiner tells Issei and the others that they're late and knocks them away with her magic. Kiba realizes the fallen angels are out to steal Asia's sacred gear before Asia's body suddenly goes numb and Reiner receives her twilight healing. Episode 5. Reiner absorbs Asia's twilight healing and declares that this will make her the supreme fallen angel and she'll be able to get back at all those who have made a fool out of her. Kiba and Kaneko start fighting her lackeys, seeing which Issei thanks them and rushes towards Asia. Reiner frees her from her shackles as a reward to Issei for making it this far, so he hurriedly clutches her in his arms and asks if she's there. She weakly opens his eyes, so he happily asks her to stay with him. Reiner says he can take her back, but he angrily orders her to return Asia's sacred gear. However, they're all proof of that, so they'll have to die here. Reiner starts mocking him as he sadly mutters that she was his first girlfriend and he really did like her. As Reiner attacks, Issei swiftly dodges and starts running to the entrance, so Kiba and Kaneko tell him to get out of here while they handle these guys. Upstairs, Issei asks Asia to stay with him and insists that she can have as much fun as she wants once they get out of here, but she warily says she's happy to have made a friend like him. Issei starts crying and reminds her that there are still tons of places he wants to visit with her, but she mutters that she can't hold on anymore and smilingly passes away. Issei tearfully begs God to not take Asia away from him, but Reiner suddenly appears in front of him and says a devil offering a confession in a church is an insidious joke like a typical Marvel villain. Outside, the angels mock Issei and attack Riaz with their spears, but she deflects them all and questions if they just laughed at her servant before calling them all fools and unleashing a powerful attack. Reiner heals the slight wound she got from Kiba using Asia's twilight healing and says this is a blessing for fallen angels like them, but Issei declares that none of this had to do with Asia, so she should have been able to live in peace. She mockingly tells Issei that no matter what he says, he couldn't protect her, so he mutters that he knows that, which is why he can't forgive her or himself. He declares that he wants her back and summons his sacred gear before rushing towards Reiner. She quickly dodges and asks if his powers increased a little before stabbing him with 2 spears. She tells him that light is toxic to devils, just touching it instantly scorches their bodies, and the intense pain it causes is the worst thing a devil can endure. However, Issei takes out the spears and throws them away, saying this is nothing compared to the pain Asia went through. Reiner admits he's something else since he was able to make it this far despite being a lower class devil, but that's all he's got. Issei falls, so she mutters that it wouldn't be surprising if he was already dead, but he's tougher than she thought. Issei wearily manages to get up again and sprouts wings, shocking Reiner, who says there's no way he should be able to get back up again since light should be searing him from the inside. He admits it hurts like hell, but he's so pissed off that it doesn't even matter. He powers up his sacred gear, causing claws to grow out of it, shocking Reiner, who realizes the power emanating from it is higher than middle class and hurriedly tries to fly away. However, Issei grabs her hand and punches her away, smashing her through the church's window. As Issei is about to fall down, Kiba suddenly supports him and says the president told him to not get in his way. Riaz reveals that she finished her business outside and went to the basement to defeat all the priests Kiba and Kaneko were fighting. Kaneko drags Rainier back inside, so Riaz reveals that she's the heiress of the Gregory family and that she blasted the fallen angels outside, shocking Rainier. Riaz sees that Issei's sacred gear has changed and reveals that it's not just a simple twice critical, it's said to have the ability to double the owner's power every 10 seconds, allowing them to transcend even God and Satan's momentarily. She tells them that it's the gauntlet of the Red Dragon Emperor, boosted gear, but it does require time to power up, so Issei managed to defeat Rainier because she let her guard down. Scared, Rainier turns back into her fake form, Yuma, and begs Issei to let her live, insisting that she only did everything to fulfill her duty as a fallen angel. Stunned, Issei slowly asks if she has no shame and tells Riaz to go ahead, so she kills her. Once Rainier is dead, Issei sadly recalls how Yuma asked him to be her boyfriend. Riaz says they should return Asia's twilight healing to her, so Issei does it and tearfully apologizes since he couldn't protect her. However, Riaz says no one blames him and unexpectedly unveils a bishop piece from her set to try and bring Asia back to life as a devil, since her sacred gear will come in handy as a clergyman. After Riaz performs the ritual, Asia shockingly comes back to life, so Riaz tells Issei to take care of her from now on, and he happily hugs Asia, saying they should go back home now. The next day, Issei goes to the Occult Research Club and asks Riaz if she can summon 7 more pawns after him, but she reveals that the number of pieces used depends on the devil's abilities and she had to use all 8 pawns to revive him. She says it seems like it was worth it judging from his sacred gear and tells him to strive to be the mightiest pawn since he should be able to achieve it. She kisses him on the forehead, so he happily agrees to get stronger and says he'll do his best. However, Riaz cheerily mutters that she has to stop doting on him like this or their newest member is going to get jealous, and Issei realizes Asia is standing behind him. Riaz tells Issei that his fight with Rainier made something clear. He needs to increase his basic physical fitness, so she says she'll come to pick him before 5 o'clock, so Issei leaves to hand out flyers. At 4:30, Issei sees Riaz outside and starts exercising as she declares that she can't have any of her servants be weak, so he insists that he'll do his best. She explains that in the world of devils, one's brawn predominantly does the talking, especially in his situation, so the higher his basic physical fitness, the more his ability will mean. Asia arrives since Riaz called her, so Issei asks why she did that, but she asks Asia if they should head to Issei's house, surprising him. Issei unexpectedly sees boxes filled with Asia's things in front of her house, and Riaz says she'll be living at his house from today. Surprised, Issei's parents tell Asia that there must surely be other, better places to stay at, but she says she's indebted to Issei and reveals that after she came here all alone from overseas, he was the one who helped her the most, and she thought she would be able to rest at ease living in the same house as Issei. Asia insists that Issei is not a good for nothing, so they happily agree to take her in. Later at school, Asia introduces herself to her class and reveals that she's currently home staying at Issei's house, hearing which Issei's friends angrily ask how he's been triggering all the right flags. Issei insists that he's not the one who set this up and smilingly sees Asia interacting with the other girls. As they're cycling home, Asia happily says everyone in the class was really nice to see her. Later, Riaz tells Asia that she was thinking she could make her big debut tonight, so Issei tells her that she'll have to jump to a client using a magic circle and make a pact with them. He asks Riaz if it isn't a bit too early for that, so Akino reveals that as far as she can tell, Asia's magic power is equal to hers, so she has plenty of aptitude to serve as a bishop. Issei feels a bit down upon hearing that, but he comforts himself by saying that he has more experience. He asks Riaz to let him go with Asia since she hasn't been in the country for long and suggests that it might be better if she got more accustomed to life here. While cycling to the customer's house, Issei admits he was worried that the person who summons here might be dangerous, but says he might just be overthinking it. However, Issei is stunned to meet a weird-looking man who introduces himself as Milta and declares that he called for a devil because he has a wish. He says he wants Issei to turn him into a magical girl and to give him fantastic power, so Issei slowly agrees to at least discuss it and remarks that this guy is dangerous in a different way when he insists that they should watch a magical girl show. Later, as he's heading home, Riaz calls him and asks how the job went, as Issei wonders why he always runs into the weirdos. During PE class, Issei remembers how Riaz was taken aback when she learnt that Issei wasn't able to form a pact this time either. He decides to blow off class and take a nap, but when he later wakes up, he's shocked to see a naked Riaz sleeping beside him. Later, Riaz goes with Issei to oversee him, so he happily remarks that he can hardly fail with her, and Asia wishes him luck that he doesn't get his butt kicked again. They get teleported to an authentic Japanese-styled room in which a woman wearing samurai armor greets them and introduces herself as Susan, a foreign exchange student who adores Japanese culture. She says it's good that he's a nice devil, since if he was an evil devil, she'd have no choice but to take her sword and draw it on him. They sit down for tea and ask Susan what she wants, so she asks them to go with her to the college she's studying it so that she can pick up her notebook since it's really scary late at night. As Issei is walking with her to her college, he once again wonders why he always gets the weird ones. They manage to retrieve the notebook and prepare to leave, but Susan hesitantly says she has something else she'd like to ask of them. Issei is about to say they only grant one request, but Rias agrees, so Susan reveals that she can't express her feelings to someone she likes even though he's a really terrific person. Rias suggests that she can directly tell him her feelings, but she embarrassingly says she can't do that, so Issei proposes that she could write a love letter. She excitedly agrees and starts writing one in her formal vocabulary, so Issei mutters that it'll sound more like a prank. However, Rias reminds him that what's important are the feelings, not the form. Susan announces that she's done and sticks the letter onto an arrow. Later, a knight slowly walks towards them and Issei notices that he has an arrow stuck to his head, so Susan admits she couldn't find any other way to deliver the letter. The guy, Horii, starts talking to Susan in a medieval style and hesitantly asks if she would like to be his girlfriend. Susan happily agrees, so he embraces her as Issei wearily looks away. Later, Rias says those two are the epitome of a well-matched couple, and Issei admits that's true in a sense, muttering that going around with a person you don't like is something one should never do. The other club members enter the room and Rias embraces Issei, telling him to do his best next time too, as Akino wonders if that means something. Asia and Issei prepare to leave to distribute flyers, but Rias says this will be their last week doing that. She reminds them that she's having them do this as part of their training, but flyer distribution is usually the job of a familiar, so it's time for them to get their own familiars. Rias shows Issei her familiar and he remembers that she's the girl who handed him the flyer back then. The others show him their familiars as well, and Rias explains that having familiars is a fundamental part of being a devil. They're used to help their masters, relay information, and even in matters of pursuit. Asia asks how they can obtain their familiars, so Rias starts explaining, but Shitori Sona, the school's student body president, enters along with the rest of the student council. Akino tells Issei that Shitori's real name is Sona Citri and she's the next head of the House of Citri, an upper-class devil family. Issei is surprised to learn that there are other devils in this school, so Rias introduces them all to each other. Issei greets another pawn, Saji, who's in the same creature as him, but he says his pride is terribly wounded to be counted the same as someone like him. He's shocked to learn that Issei took 8 chess pieces when he only took 4 and begrudgingly greets him upon Sona's orders. They start arguing over Asia before Saji brags that he's even allowed a familiar even though he's barely started when Issei is still stuck on flyer distribution. However, Issei declares that the president just got done telling him he should have a familiar. Rias suggests that they have an equitable contest of strength since whoever wins gains the right to make a request for a familiar. Sona questions if she means a rating game, but Rias cheerily says they'd never be allowed that, so they're going to settle this the old school way, through sports. Akino and Rias face off against Sona and the vice president in a tennis match, and as they start playing, Issei creepily remarks that he could stay here forever even though he wants Rias to win. A lot of students crowd around the arena to watch the match. Both sides declare that they are going to win this, but at the end, neither side ends up winning the match, so Rias and Akino discuss what they can do with the student council. They decide to settle this with dodgeball. Later in the night, Issei knocks on the door to Asia's room and asks if she has a needle and thread. In the gym, while the rest of the team is stretching, Rias tells them that going with simpler rules is the best since their objective is to win. Issei reveals that he stayed up all night and stitched bandanas for them, and the others happily praise him before Rias says they should put these on and play together as a team. The two teams start playing and instantly cheat by using their sacred gear, seeing which Issei worryingly says he doesn't know what kind of game this is supposed to be at this point. Saji tells his team to take Issei out first, so Sona throws the ball at him. He hurriedly tries to run away, but it hones in on him and devastatingly takes him out. The others decide to avenge Issei's death, and Kaneko takes Saji out the same way, leaving only Sona on the other team. She declares that they're just getting started, but the time suddenly ends and the Occult Research Club wins, so Sona smilingly says that was a good game. The club later celebrates, and Kiba says the bandanas helped raise everyone's spirits. They decide to get Issei's familiar now and get teleported to a forest where a man declares that he's the familiar master, the Toji. Toji asks what kind of familiar they desire, so Issei asks if he has any cute familiars. Toji points out that he should get a familiar which is of the most use to him, but he instantly agrees when Asia says she'd like a cute familiar too. He takes them to a lake with water spirits named Undines, and Issei expects them to be really cute, but he's shocked by how ugly and muscular they are. They keep looking and find a baby sprite dragon, the offspring of a dragon that uses blue lightning. Toji tells them to get it now since you can't obtain them once they mature, so Issei excitedly declares that he chooses it. However, slime suddenly starts falling on them all and slowly dissolves the girl's clothes. Issei smilingly says this is a fantastic development, but Kaneko smacks him down and tells him to not look. Toji says this slime is harmless besides dissolving girls' clothes, so Issei says he's making it his familiar. He insists that he only wants the slime, but the sprite dragon suddenly kills the slime with its lightning. It becomes Asia's familiar, so she officially forms a pact with it and decides to name it Rasei. Later, Akino smilingly says sprite dragons don't normally hand themselves over to devils, but Asia being a sister must have had some influence on him. Issei insists that he's going to get a familiar that will astound them all, and Rias cheerily mutters that he still has a ways to go. Issei suddenly finds himself in a suit in front of his friends, who tearfully say they can't believe he's getting married before them. His bride, Riaz, tells him to pay attention now, and he shockingly wonders how this happened but remarks that he doesn't have much of a problem with this. He gets ready to kiss her, but a voice suddenly sees that he's pretty worked up and introduces itself as the voice that's been talking to him for a long time, but because he was too weak, he was never able to hear it. Regardless, it says it just wanted to say hello to the partner that it's going to be fighting alongside from now on. Issei asks who it is and suddenly wakes up in his bed, clutching his hand. At school, Issei tells his friends he had a strange dream and wasn't able to get much sleep. His friends annoyingly ask why all these beautiful girls are throwing themselves at him and suggest that it wouldn't hurt to introduce them to at least one of them. They agree to give him a reward too, so Issei hurriedly decides to introduce them to Milta. Later at school, they get caught spying on the girls changing from a locker, and Kaneko beats Issei up. Back at the clubroom, Asia uses her healing powers to treat Issei's injuries before Riaz casually says she wouldn't mind showing her body to him, shocking him. After the others leave, Akino informs Riaz that the questionnaires from where Issei was summoned to say good things about him, but despite the fact that except when Riaz accompanied him, he failed to get a pact signed, so he may be a failure as a devil, but he pleased all his clients. Riaz mutters that this is going to cause Issei to lose confidence in himself, so she'll have to look after him for a little longer. Akino smilingly says she's not sure of what to make of Riaz's commitment to Issei, so Riaz says it's not a bad thing to have her best friend worry over her, but this is her own problem, so she reminds Akino to call her president in the club room. After she's left, a magic circle appears in front of Riaz, so she braces herself. In his room, Issei mutters that there really isn't anything good about him since even Kaneko despises him, but he says he can't always be so down on himself because he's going to be king of the harems. He decides to take a quick bath and get refreshed, but he unexpectedly sees that Asia is bathing. He quickly gets ready to leave, but she stops him and says she'd like to know him better. It should have been me, not him. However, his mom suddenly arrives with towels for Asia and sees them both together. In his room, Issei tries to calm himself, but Riaz suddenly appears in front of him. However, she realizes she's a little too late as a maid teleports in front of them and tells Riaz that the master and Serzetz will be saddened by the fact that she's with a lowborn like Issei. Riaz declares that she won't allow her to call her servant a lowborn, so the woman asks her to have some respect for herself. She introduces herself as Grafia to Issei, who immediately starts thinking that she's pretty. Riaz kisses Issei on the cheek and excuses herself for the night. The next day, Issei is wondering who Grafia was when Matsuda and Madohama suddenly punch him in the face for getting them stuck with Milta. Later, Kiba, Asia and Issei enter the club room to see Grafia there, and she's about to say something, but Riaz stops her before a magic circle suddenly appears in the room. A man suddenly appears and mutters that it's been a long time since he came to the human realm. The others ask who he is, so Grafia introduces him as Lord Riser Phoenix, a pure-blooded upper-class devil and the third son of the House of Phoenix, as well as the fiancé of the next head of the Gregory family, Akka Riaz. Riser sits down for a cup of tea, but Riaz reminds him that she won't marry him. He cheerily says he thought her family's condition was desperate enough to not allow her to be so inconsiderate, but she declares that she doesn't intend to bring her house to ruin and will marry whoever she wishes. Riser reminds her that her father and brother, Serzetz, arranged their marriage with the future in mind. When she says she won't repeat herself, he declares that he can't have her besmirching his good name, so he will take her back to the underworld even if he has to incinerate all her servants. Grafia tells him to stop and reminds him that she won't hold back since she is here on Serzetz's orders. She reveals that Zetz anticipated something like this would happen, which is why he assigned her a last resort. If Riaz is this insistent on not marrying Riser, she will have to settle with Riser through a rating game. Issei remembers hearing that before, and Kiba explains that it's a chess-like game devils engage in where they have their servants compete in battle. This is why those of the servants called evil pieces are given powers modeled after chess pieces. Riser says he's played through this game many times and secured many wins, while Riaz hasn't even qualified for an official game yet. Akino says only mature devils have been able to take part in the rating game, so that's their only disadvantage. Just to be sure, Riser asks Riaz if these are all her servants and laughs when she confirms this. He summons his servants and reveals that he has 15 pieces, aka a full set of them. Issei tearfully realizes all of them are pretty women or girls, seeing which Riser alls a servant named Yubaluna and suddenly kisses her before telling Issei that he'll never be able to do this as long as he lives. Issei angrily tells him to shut up, so he asks if he's aware of what his position is. Issei says he doesn't care about any of that and summons his sacred gear, announcing that he'll defeat him here and now, so they don't need any game. A servant named Mira steps forward and instantly slams Issei into the wall, seeing which Riser laughingly says he's surprised to see that her bearer of the brutal boosted gear is so weak. Riaz agrees to decide this through a rating game and swears that she will wipe Riser and his servants out, so he smilingly mutters that he looks forward to it and disappears. Issei, Kiba and Kaneko walk up a mountain with a huge bag to train, and Kiba and Kaneko easily speed past him. Since the rating game is in 10 days, Grafia wonders if they should set up a handicap due to the difference between Riaz and Riser, so Riaz says she'll gladly accept that time as a training period. As Issei continues walking, she remarks that she will make him stronger and stronger. The club members reach a lake and get ready to continue training as Issei asks Kiba about what he meant when he said he has a personal dislike for fallen angels and priests. Kiba changes the topic and tells Issei that they have to win this for Ria's sake since she saved both him and Asia. For lesson 1, they have a sparring session and Kiba swiftly disarms Issei before telling him to keep his guard up. After that, Akino teaches them to use their magic power and is surprised to see that Asia instantly gets it. She uses ice to crush a bottle and tells Issei to keep practicing his magic power since visualization is the source of magic, so whatever comes to his mind materializes. For the third lesson, Issei tries fighting Kaneko but she easily defeats him. Issei frustratingly mutters that he's no match for Kiba and Kaneko and he's worse than Asia at magic too, so there's nothing he's good at. Kaneko reminds him that everyone has their special properties and his special property is perversion and hard work. For the next lesson, Rias tells Issei to cook as best as he can and Issei is surprised to see that he can easily peel the potatoes when he thinks about Akino. He remembers that something like this happened when he first used his sacred gear and swiftly peels all the potatoes, but Asia slowly asks what they're going to do with all this. During dinner, Kaneko catches Issei staring at her but he hurriedly denies that, so Rias asks what he thinks after training all day. He admits he's the weakest one, so she explains that Asia's healing and his boosted gear are important assets and the other side will be conscious of that as well, so she wants him to gain at least enough power to get away so that he doesn't slow down everyone on their side. Issei remarks that he's the one who got Asia caught up in this fight, so he has to at least get enough power to keep her protected. Meanwhile, Grafia tells Riser that she doesn't think Rias has any chance of winning. Issei wakes Asia up during the middle of the night since she's the only one he can ask something of. Issei tries to blow clothes off of a mannequin and Asia remembers how he asked for her clothes. She arrives in front of him to see what he's doing and his wind attack suddenly works on her instead. The next morning, Rias explains that devils, fallen angels and the god at the head of the angels have been involved in a three-way war, but there hasn't been a victor yet and the battles have ended with all their efforts wiped out. Devils have a very low birth rate, which is the reason why devils are turning humans and increasing their households with them. The raiding game came about during this, and through the game, the devils who are the masters of the households are able to provide them with combat experience as well as show off their own abilities. Rias decides to stop for now, so Akino and Asia get up to make tea for everyone. Issei asks Asia to keep what happened last night a secret since the move's far from being ready for battle, and she agrees to work with him until the move's ready. Rias says she'd like to hear Asia's story too, so she explains that there are two things an exorcist must have. One of them is holy water, so they should make sure to not touch it since they're devils. She says the other thing is the Bible, and she's read it when she was little, but she's stuck now since if she read even one verse, she got a terrible headache. They point out that it's because she's a devil, so she sadly asks the Lord to forgive her for not being able to read the Bible. Later in the night, Rias asks Issei if he would like to chat for a bit and reveals that she's formulating a plan of attack. She asks if he knows that they're against the Phoenix and that his ability is the same as the saintly beast, immortality. She admits he's virtually indestructible since he regenerates immediately after attacks, and the only two losses he's suffered were out of respect to a family he is close to, so he lost on purpose. Issei apologizes for screaming at Riser, which led to the game, but she says it's thanks to him that things came right to the point and she's happy that happened. From the first day, her father and the others anticipated her losing and purposefully set it up that way. Issei asks why she's turning down this marriage proposal, so she says she's the heiress of the House of Gremory, but she'd like someone to marry someone who loves her for being Ria's and not for the influence of her house. Issei says he doesn't understand any of that, but her standing in front of him right now is the most important thing to him. Surprised, Rias declares that they're going to fight to win, so he depressingly admits he's hopeless compared to her. However, Rias hugs him and tells him to get some rest for both his body and mind because she will stay at his side until he falls asleep. Later, Rias tells Issei to use his boosted gear against Kiba, so he gets ready and boosts himself 12 times. Rias explains that he wouldn't have been able to endure this much stepping up, so the results of his training are clearly revealed in him. Issei uses evolution to fight with all the enhanced power. He quickly blocks Kiba's attack and fires a beam at him, so Kiba hurriedly dodges and Issei's beam hits the mountain behind them, completely clearing a path through it. Issei is stunned to see that he has this much power and falls down, so Rias tells him that his attack power will critically affect the way the game moves for them, so he should believe in them and himself. Issei sees that there's an hour till the raiding game begins and mutters that he's training like his life depended on it, so there's no way he's just going to lose. Asia enters his room and says she decided to wear her sister's clothes since Rias told her to wear what she thought was best. She sits down beside him and believes Issei will be alright as long as he's here, even though a fearsome battle is about to start. Issei agrees that they'll always be together and says it's time to go. As the club members prepare themselves, Sona and the vice president and Rias reveals that they're going to be relaying the game. Grafia asks if everyone is ready and announces that they will be relocated to the field of battle by this magic circle once it's time. Akino tells Issei it'll be a free space, so they'll be free to do whatever they want, no matter how unrestrained, and Issei gets excited because there's a lot of things he wants to do that society considers taboo. Grafia announces that this battle will be watched by Rias' brother, the Great Devil's Edge Lucifer, as well. They all stand in the magic circle since it's time and reappear in the club room, so Grafia explains that upon Ria's and Riser's suggestion, they prepared a replica of Kyo Academy. Sona explains that Riser's base is the principal's office, Ria's base is the club room, so promotion will become possible for pawns once they make their way into each other's schoolhouses. Kiba says they'll have to tightly guard their base since Riser's servants can be promoted as well. Kaneko hands Issei a transparent marble they'll use to talk to each other on the battlefield and start the game as Riser orders his servants to crush Ria's team thoroughly since there won't be any meaning to this farce unless they can shatter Ria's pride. Riaz lays down her plan and explains that they have to secure a defensive line first, so Kaneko and Kiba go to cast some traps in the woods. After that, Riaz tells Akino to cast illusion magic on the sky and woods. She orders Asia to stay by her side since they're really done for if she falls, and finally, she asks Issei to lay his head on her lap. Issei happily agrees and starts crying, but she says she's going to unlock a spell she cast on him. Before it begins, Riaz shares her strategy with the team. She sends Akino, Yudo, and Kaneko out to set traps to help defend against the enemy and releases part of the seal on Issei's power, trusting that he can handle it now. Issei feels power building inside him, so she reminds him of how his rebirth used up all 8 pawns and reveals that right after he was born, his body was unable to withstand that much power, so she spread it out over several stages and sealed them up. Right now, she just released a little of it since it was necessary to train his body first so that he could endure his boosted gear along with this power. Riaz tells him to make sure he doesn't go easy on his enemies even if they are girls, so he declares that he's going to make sure he brings them victory. Once the traps and illusions are set in place, Riaz explains her plan to them all and sends them out to commence the operation, ordering them to blow their opponents away. Kaneko and Issei head to the gym where they run into Mira, Shuren, Isle, and Nell. Kaneko sees that Shuren is almost queen level based on her power, so Issei says there's no choice but to do this since they knew they were going to have to face this from the start. Riser sees that they intend to attack the center after all and learns that Shulayer, Marion, and Byron are currently infiltrating. As Kaneko takes on Shuren, Issei is slammed into the wall by Mira. Kaneko punches Shuren in the face and stomach while Isle and Nell run after Issei with chainsaws. He swiftly dodges Mira and marks both Nell and Isle with a seal before destroying Mira's cane and marking her as well. Once that's done, he remarks that the conditions are all lined up now, so Mira, Isle, and Nell get ready to tear him apart. They all rush towards him, but he suddenly uses his new move, Dress Break, ripping their clothes off. They fall to the ground in embarrassment, so he starts laughing and tearfully says this is all thanks to Asia while the girls call him a pervert. Kaneko says she's lost all respect for him, but Issei informs Riaz that they're both doing fine and they decide to proceed with their plan. After that, they quickly leave the gym before a massive bolt of lightning strikes it from above. Akino appears above them and announces that 3 of Lord Riser's pawns and 1 of his rooks have been incapacitated before Kaneko reveals that Akino's nickname is the Priestess of Thunder. Riaz informs them that they'll need some time before Akino can launch another attack like that, so they'll move forward once her magical power is replenished. Until then, she orders them to act according to the next phase of the plan, and Kaneko says they're supposed to meet Kiba near the track grounds and eliminate any enemies there. Meanwhile, in the forest, Shulayer, Marion, and Byron continue taking out the traps Kaneko had set before, but Kiba approaches them from behind, revealing that they've walked straight into a barrier their queen set up because they were too fixated on the small traps. Issei mutters that Kiba is probably getting along fine with a calm look on his face and tells Kaneko they should get going too, but she orders him to not touch her and walks on ahead, saying it's a repulsive technique. However, she's suddenly knocked back by a massive explosion caused by Yubaluna, who appears above them, shocking Riaz as Riser menacingly tells her to not underestimate him. Kaneko weakly says she wanted to serve the president more, so Issei assures her that Asia will heal these wounds in no time, but she slowly disappears in his arms. Issei questions how she dared to kill Kaneko and tells Yubaluna to come down and fight him, so Riaz shakily tells him to calm down since when someone can no longer fight, they are transferred to an appropriate location where they're treated, so Kaneko isn't actually dead. Yubaluna tells him to give up as well since there's no way he can win no matter how hard he tries. Akino appears in front of him and tells him to go on ahead while she takes care of her. She declares that he doesn't need to worry about her because she will fight with her whole soul and body to avenge Kaneko. 3 more pawns from Riser are retired thanks to Kiba, leaving 9 remaining pieces for him and 5 for Riaz. Kiba meets up with Issei and says he's sure Kaneko is disappointed too, but Issei says they're going to win this no matter what, and he smilingly agrees. Riaz informs them that she's going to launch a sneak attack on Riser's base with Asia, so he should draw as many of the enemy away as he can and buy them some time. Kiba points out that the risk in letting the king leave his base is too great, so she says she's hoping Riser thinks that too, since regardless of how immortal his body may be, his heart is not, so if they want to strike them hard enough to win, they'll have to beat Riser. Thus, Issei and Kiba go out into the open and call whatever pawn is near them, so a knight named Carlamine appears in front of them, so Kiba cheerily declares that he's been looking forward to fighting another knight. Seeing them fight, Issei decides to not get involved for now, but 5 more servants suddenly surround him from all directions, and one of them says Rias must have poor taste in men. Issei summons his boosted gear, but she says she won't be fighting, and a servant named Isabella steps forward. Issei starts fighting her but asks why the other girl isn't doing anything, so Isabella reveals that she is Ravel Phoenix, one of the household devils and Riser's blood sister. Issei smilingly says he can understand why Riser has a sister figure in his harem before Isabella admits he fights better than expected. However, she kicks him away and punches him in the face. Issei mutters that he has to keep dodging until he's powered up enough. He boosts himself for the 5th time and remarks that it still won't be enough against a rook. He declares that he will defeat her for the president's sake and gets ready. When Rias and Asia enter the school building, Riser declares that he's been waiting for them. As he's fighting Carlomian, Kiba unveils his second sacred gear. When he destroys her sword, she takes out another blade and attacks, but he unveils yet another sacred gear, declaring that he can simply create magic swords at will. Issei is surprised by how cool Kiba's power is, but he gets punched again. He powers up one more time and finally uses explosion, but his aim is wrong and it completely misses Isabel. She charges towards him to attack, but he quickly uses dress break before firing an explosion on her at point blank range. On the rooftop, Rias and Asia face off against Riser while 5 servants surround Issei and ask if he doesn't understand how hopeless his situation is. The pawns start beating Issei up together, but he remembers that he's Ria's servant and blocks Siri's sword with his arm before declaring that he will take all of them down. He orders the red dragon and his gauntlet to respond to his feelings even more and unlocks Dragon Booster, Second Liberation. His gauntlet grows bigger while Aquino throws Yubaluna down and she mutters that she didn't expect her to be this strong. Aquino says she will recover after a short rest, but Yubaluna says she's lost and takes out a small vial. Meanwhile, Kiba uses his sacred gear, Sword Birth, on the ground, and Issei absorbs all of its power and redirects it all back to the ground, causing hundreds of swords to spring out, stabbing all the servants around them. Sona announces that 2 Riser's pawns, 2 of his knights and 1 of his bishops have retired, but Aquino simultaneously retires, as well as Issei declares that this is boosted gear gift, which lets him transfer his boosted power to whoever he chooses. Riser says it seems like Rias has lost her right hand lady, so she declares that she still has Kiba and Issei. Issei wonders how Aquino could be beaten before Kiba is suddenly defeated too. Riser tells Rias to give up since she'll just end up getting even more hurt in the end, and heals himself. Ravel tells Yubaluna she took a while, so she admits Aquino was much stronger than they had anticipated, so she had to use a Tear of the Phoenix, a sacred item that can completely heal any injury instantly. Issei realizes the House of Phoenix has had a major advantage from the start and rushes into the school building, where he promotes himself to queen and heads to the rooftop to help Rias. Yubaluna suddenly attacks Asia with an explosion, causing her to fall unconscious, seeing which Issei asks Rias if they're still going to fight and declares that he can go on. He boosts himself and rushes towards Riser, but he stumbles and falls down, seeing which Sona mutters that boosted gear is much more taxing to the body than sacred gear, so the fact that he was able to fight at all is nearly miraculous, but his magic power was used up when he took a direct hit from Yubaluna. Issei tries getting up and insists that he can fight back, so Riser starts beating him up, questioning if a lowly servant like him is going to continue defying him. He says he's going to beat Issei up enough that treating him would be meaningless, since deaths that happen within the game are recognized as accidents. Seeing Issei's determined expression, Riser gets ready to attack him, but Rias tearfully embraces him and resigns, shocking Issei. The voice tells Issei that no matter how much time he spends, he'll never get strong the way he's training right now. He is an extraordinary being with a dragon dwelling within him, so he should not present him so incredulously. It says it will grant him power worthy of the sacrifice, and he just needs to show the white one what a dragon is. Issei opens his eyes to shockingly see the Welsh dragon, the red dragon emperor, D-Drag, in front of him. He wakes up in his bed to see Grafia in front of him and hurriedly asks about Rias, so she reveals that the game ended with Riser the victor and Rias declared her resignation. Issei questions why she would ever do that, so Grafia reveals that it's because Riser was about to kill him since he kept getting up again and again to face Riser. Issei tearfully admits it's all his fault and asks where the others are. Grafia explains that Asia is here to tend to him, but the others are attending the engagement part of Rias and Riser in the underworld. Issei remembers what Rias said and depressingly apologizes since he didn't get strong enough. He mutters that he doesn't want Rias to be forced to go along with what her family has laid out for her, so Grafia smilingly says he's a fascinating individual since she's never met a devil who so readily shows what he's thinking on his face, rushes to do whatever he likes. She gives him a flyer and says he can attend the engagement party with this before stating the message that's sent for him: if you want to win my sister back, then come in swinging. After Grafia's disappeared, Asia enters the room and happily hugs Issei since she'd been treating him for 2 days and was wondering if he was ever going to wake up. He assures her that he's fine and reveals that he's going to get Rias back, so she makes him promise he'll actually come back with her. Issei promises and asks Asia to do something for him, so she agrees and leaves. After she's left, Issei calls D-Drag and says he wants to make a deal with it. Riaz tries on her engagement suit and sadly remembers clutching Issei's body in her arms before she's informed that it's time. Sona approaches Kiba, Kaneko, and Akino and tells them that the battle was more than well fought even if it didn't turn out in their favor, so they say she doesn't have to comfort them like that since things are definitely not over. Riser summons Riaz and introduces her to all his guests, but Issei suddenly breaks down the door. Seeing him, Riser orders the guards to seize him, but Kiba, Kaneko, and Akino quickly take them out and tell Issei to go on. Riser questions how he's here, so Zetch steps in and reveals that he was the one who invited him. He explains that he was quite underwhelmed by the raiding game and the old family has lost face, especially after this time, so he wanted to add a little bit of spice to his sister's engagement party. He tells Issei that he wants to see the power of the dragon with his own eyes, which is why he had Grafia make some preparations, so he suggests that they have a showdown between Issei and Riser. As the duel is about to begin, Zetch asks Issei what he wants as compensation if he wins, so he says he wants Riaz returned and tells her that he's going to win this fight in 10 seconds like a video game speedrunner. In that case, Riser declares that he'll shut that smart mouth of his in 5 seconds and they both start rushing towards each other. Issei quickly asks for permission to promote and raises his rank to queen before using Welsh Dragon Overbooster, which covers his entire body in the Dragon Emperor's armor. He increases his booster gear to Balance Breaker, a forbidden, infernal form, remembering how he formed a deal with D-Drag. As they start fighting, Riser slowly overwhelms Issei, but he suddenly uses the crucifix on him and reveals that Issei made a dangerous deal since he sacrificed his left arm to the red dragon within him in exchange for a massive power boost that lasts only 10 seconds, and since his left arm belongs to the dragon now, he can hold the crucifix without bearing any pain. During the short burst of power, Issei gives it his all and pushes Riser back, but because of Riser's Phoenix healing abilities, Issei can't land a finishing blow and falls down. Riser grabs him and says it's over, but Issei surprises him by hitting him with enhanced holy water, which causes Riser intense physical and mental pain. As he's reeling from the pain, Issei remembers all the lessons he learned from the council members and punches Riser in the stomach, declaring that Riaz crying was enough of a reason for him to pound him. After the battle, Ravel flies away with her brother and Riaz catches Issei before happily thanking him. Later, the others take Issei and Riaz to a griffin and ask him to see her off, so they both get on it and Issei informs them that they'll be waiting for them at the club room. As they fly away, Zetch mutters that he had the griffin ready as a worst-case scenario means of escape, so Grafia points out that there would have been trouble afterward if it came to that. Zetch says Sir Phoenix and his father have had a change of mind and this engagement has been called off. He smilingly says he never dreamed that the Welsh dragon would come over to their side and says the encounter with the white dragon may not be far off. In the sky, Riaz calls Issei silly for going to all these lengths for her, but he cheerily believes it was a bargain since he was able to get her back like this. She mutters that talks of her engagement may come up again even if it's been broken off this time, so he declares that he will rescue her time and time again since he's her pawn. Hearing this, she suddenly kisses him. Riaz says that was her first kiss and reveals that she's decided to live in house as well from now on since she wants to know her servants better.